Now, this one raised a load of eyebrows. Gianluigi Donnarumma expected to leave Paris Saint-Germain this summer after he failed to agree a new deal with the European champions. Multiple clubs are trying to sign him. He has just 1 year left on his PSG contract. I say multiple clubs. You tell us which ones.
Well, look, I don't know for sure which clubs are interested in signing him, but he's arguably the best goalkeeper in the world. Who's better than him? Maybe Alisson at Liverpool at the moment. But there are reports that clubs like Manchester City are interested in signing him, clubs like Manchester United as well, although I think that would be difficult to see happening because he is on big wages. The background to this is that he moved to PSG as a free agent 4 years ago. You remember, he was represented by Mino Raiola at the time. He was the best goalkeeper in the world. PSG, because they weren't paying a transfer fee for him, broke the bank almost, although it's difficult to break the bank when you're PSG, to pay his wages. Now his contract is going to run out next summer. There have been talks about a new deal, but I don't think PSG want to pay the kind of money that perhaps the player feels that he is worth. And also, PSG don't want to be in the situation anymore where players are leaving and free transfers. Remember that whole saga with Kylian Mbappe as well. Once bitten, twice shy. So I think what they've done is gone out and bought a new goalkeeper, Lucas Chevalier, for 40 million euros. They've said to Lucas Chevalier, you're the number one. Donnarumma is not even in the squad for the Super Cup game against Tottenham. All parties are trying to work to find him a new club. But of course, it's going to be very difficult because he's arguably the best goalkeeper in the world and he's on big wages. And he always has the option of just saying, you know what, I'm not going anywhere. I've got this big contract. I like my life in Paris.
Not doing that in a World Cup year.
Well,
not doing it.
I agree with you. How could Italy's number one goalkeeper not play at all in a World Cup year? But he does have that option. But it looks like he's not going to play for PSG again. And it's quite an incredible turnaround because just a few months ago, he was winning the Champions League in spectacular fashion as one of the key players in that brilliant PSG side.
Top goalkeeper. There won't be short of suitors. What about Alejandro Garnacho? Has he got lots of suitors?
Well, it looks like one in particular. Napoli were interested in signing him in January and they had interest in the summer. They've moved on to other targets. But Chelsea, that's been a long-standing interest. There were conversations that took place in January. Things have stepped up now. There's talks ongoing now between Chelsea and Manchester United. And this is a really important deal that United get right because they've been really active in the transfer market in terms of bringing in players. Now the priority is selling players. Alejandro Garnacho would represent pure profit from a profit and sustainability perspective. Previously, they were looking for around 70, 60 million pounds. I'm unsure they're going to get that right now because of a number of conditions. The fact he's been frozen out of the first team picture. He's not training with the first team squad. I know Ruben Amorim says he'll be reintegrated if there isn't the market value met by a club like Chelsea. But also Ruben Amorim said that Garnacho was looking for a new type of leader. He's looking for a new type of project. So you'd expect him to depart. Chelsea, yes, they have a number of wide players, but all these different wide players have a specific profile as well. We know Garnacho is a very talented player. Perhaps he needs the right manager and the right club. So I think this is a deal that could happen. Chelsea want to try and sign him before the end of this transfer window. I think he will depart before the end of this transfer window. I think he'll probably head to Chelsea as well. OK, so you think Garnacho on the way out. Are Manchester United going to get Carlos Baleba in? I still think this is a very difficult deal for Manchester United to do for a number of reasons. They've spent a huge amount of money replenishing their front line, but their next priority is signing a central midfielder if they can. The reason why this is difficult is because United do need to prioritise sales. So far, there's not been a huge amount brought in. Yes, there's been the sell-on clause of the likes of Anthony Elanga. They've probably made around £20 million in terms of things like that, but unless they can get £40 million for Rasmus Højlund, they can get a good deal for Anthony, they can get a good deal for Jadon Sancho, they're not really going to be in a situation where they can really attack this transfer and bring in Carlos Baleba. The other factor is Brighton, they're not going to sell him on the cheap. He's arguably as good as Moises Caicedo was at that stage when Chelsea spent £150 million on him. Maybe not quite as ready as Caicedo, but you can understand the sort of figures that Brighton will be looking at for Carlos Baleba to depart. You wouldn't expect it to be anywhere short of £70, £80 million. So for United to go after that, they need to do a lot of work in terms of outgoings over the course of the next few weeks.
Well,
I
let's
think
talk
it's going to
about
be too
that. Are
problematic.
they going to get the famous five? Are they going to close the book on the famous five?
I think Jadon Sancho, they'll find an exit for him. I think it's going to be difficult to do a permanent deal, I think. But Borussia Dortmund are a club that are exploring the conditions of doing another deal to bring him in. I'm not sure whether or not they'll be able to get a permanent transfer for Jadon Sancho. But he's got 1 year left in his contract. There's the option of another year. So United could look to do something like a loan with an obligation to buy. Of course, they'll do a loan. But if there's a permanent element, Anthony Real Betis want to try to sign him. They're looking at a loan. They don't think they can find the finances to do a permanent deal. But of course, as we've spoken about all transfer window, as we get closer and closer to the deadline, there will need to be compromises when it comes to the player and the club as well. So United may have to take much less money than they wanted in June, what they will take on the 1st of September to get rid of these players. Malacia, slightly different, I think, because of his injury record. I think that's going to be very difficult. Rasmus Højlund, they can get £40 million for him, then that would represent not too much of a loss. His book value right now is around £45 million. They signed him for around £70 million a couple of years ago.
Football fans, breaking news from Old Trafford, Manchester United are edging ever closer to securing a sensational double swoop for talented midfielder Carlos Baleba and world-class goalkeeper Gianluigi Donnarumma. Sources close to the club reveal that talks have reached an advanced stage, with personal terms nearly agreed for both players. Manager Ruben Amorim is believed to be heavily involved in the process, viewing Baleba as a key addition to bolster the midfield, while Donnarumma is seen as the perfect